the only band that matters. That's got to be one of the boldest claims in the entire history of rock and roll. But was it just some clever marketing slogan, or did The Clash actually earn that title? Well, we're going to dig in and find out. This is the story of a band that didn't just want to play a few songs, they wanted to write a whole new future. To really get The Clash, you have to picture the world they exploded into. We're talking mid-70s Britain, and honestly, it was a pretty bleak place. And the first wave of punk rock was its perfect soundtrack. The whole vibe, famously screamed by the Sex Pistols, was just pure nihilism. It was this feeling that everything was broken and the only thing left to do was smash whatever was left. But here's the thing. Right from the jump, The Clash offered something different. While the Pistols were all about anarchy and tearing it all down, The Clash, well, they had a political vision. Their goal wasn't just to destroy for the sake of it, it was to actually try and build something new out of all that rubble. And that vision, it didn't just come out of nowhere. No, it was forged in the fire of all the crises that were happening all around them. So let's get into how a band like The Clash could only have been born from the decay of 1970s Britain.
I mean, Britain was in a total tailspin. Jobs were vanishing, the social safety nets were being torn apart, and the cities felt like these powder kegs of alienation. And on the radio, the charts were full of what a lot of young people saw as this bloated, completely out-of-touch prog rock. So punk was this raw, gut-level reaction to all of it, and The Clash quickly became its most articulate, its most powerful voice.
So who were these guys? You've got Joe Strummer, a veteran of the pub rock scene who is obsessed with What He Got 3. You've got Mick Jones, a total proto-punk fanatic. Paul Simonon was an art student who literally learned how to play bass after he joined the band. And then there's Topper Headon, this technically amazing drummer with a background in jazz. This incredible mix of people, well, that was the secret ingredient to their sound. And that sound? Wow. It refused to stand still for a second. Their musical evolution was just incredible. They became these sonic alchemists, pulling in sounds and influences from all over the world. I mean, right from their very first album, they were already pushing the boundaries. While a lot of their peers were sticking to this really rigid punk formula, The Clash saw it as just a starting point, not a destination. They were just so musically curious, and that curiosity would end up changing everything. Their musical palette was just extraordinary. Reggae and dub, for instance, that wasn't some novelty for them. Paul Simonon grew up in multicultural Brixton, and he brought that influence right into the band's DNA. Those deep, heavy reggae bass lines gave their punk songs a physical punch that other bands just didn't have. They were looking backwards to the rebellious energy of American rockabilly and forwards to the brand new sounds of New York hip-hop. And their connection to Jamaican music was the real deal. Incredibly authentic. They even worked with the absolute legend, the dub pioneer Lee Scratch Perry. This quote here says it all. A legendary producer pushing their sound so hard, he's literally breaking the equipment to get the bass just right. Now that's commitment. But it wasn't just the music that was evolving at lightning speed. Their message, their lyrics, grew more sophisticated and more ambitious right alongside it. And this, right here, is where they truly separated themselves from the rest of the pack. You can literally track their journey in these 3 steps. They started local, writing about the frustrations of working-class life right there on their doorstep. Then they zoomed out, tackling racism and the rise of the far right across Britain. And finally, their scope went global. They were writing songs about the Spanish Civil War, about U.S. intervention in Latin America. They were basically giving their fans a history lesson set to an incredible beat. Okay, so this brings us to a huge, huge paradox at the heart of the band's career. How does a revolutionary, anti-corporate band not only survive, but actually thrive on a major record label? This was a constant battle for them. And here is the great irony of it all. That iconic name, the only band that matters, it wasn't dreamed up in some punk squat in London. Nope, it was created in a corporate office by a copywriter at CBS Records. The label needed a hook to sell this unique political band, and the slogan stuck, precisely because for so many fans, it just felt true. But The Clash never, ever got comfortable with that. They fought their label every step of the way. When CBS released the single Remote Control without their permission, they didn't just file a complaint, no way. They went right back into the studio and recorded Complete Control, this blistering anthem about artistic freedom aimed squarely at their corporate bosses. And listen, they really put their money where their mouth was.
to release their massive experimental triple album Sandinista at a price that their fans could actually afford, the band gave up a huge chunk of their own royalties. This wasn't just about selling a cheap record. It was a radical act of solidarity with their working-class audience and a direct challenge to the music industry's entire structure. But, that kind of intense mix of musical ambition, political fire, and industry pressure, it just couldn't last forever. So let's take a look at how it all unraveled and what they left behind.
The beginning of the end, really, was losing their drummer, Topper Headon. This guy was the musical engine of the band. They called him the human drum machine for a reason. His skill is what let them explore all those different genres. But his crippling heroin addiction made him unreliable, and the band had to make the agonizing decision to fire him, right at the absolute peak of their fame. And after that, the collapse was just shockingly fast. Once Topper was gone, the tensions between Joe Strummer and Mick Jones just spiraled out of control. Only a year later, Jones, the band's melodic genius, was fired too. The band tried to limp on, but the magic was gone. By 1986, it was all over. So why are we still talking about them today? Because their legacy is just immense. They basically wrote the modern blueprint for political rock music. You can draw a straight line from The Clash to bands like Rage Against the Machine. Their songs are still being chanted at protests all over the world. More than anything, The Clash proved that music could be more than just entertainment. It could be a real, powerful tool for education and for change. And in the end, maybe their most enduring message is in this simple, powerful phrase that Joe Strummer always championed. The future is unwritten. It's not a statement of fact. It's a call to action. It's a reminder that nothing is set in stone, and that all of us have the power to shape what happens next. So, what does that phrase mean to you today?